Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranja Yashodanandana Rajajanaranja Yāmunācārya Yāmunācārya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranja Yashodanandana Rajajanaranja Yāmunācārya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai, Gaura Premanande. Om Ajānanto Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamahyam Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadrutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Nama Om Vishwavadaya Krishna-ksetra Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namah. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu Jagatpate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, good evening everyone. We can take this off and keep the table. I'm happy to be again in Hong Kong after something like, after something like 2 years. It's always nice to come back to Hong Kong. Hong Kong is where the action is, right? So, we're reading from chapter 7, verse number 24. Okay. Chapter 7 is, well, we could say all the 18 chapters of Bhagavad-gītā are important, but we can say the 7th chapter is important in a particular way. It's a major turning point in the Bhagavad-gītā. Now, if we think about the number 18, we can divide 18 by 3 in a very simple way. What would we have? 6. So we have 3 times 6 chapters in the Bhagavad-gītā. And here we are. So that means there's 3 sections, we can say. We can divide the Bhagavad-gītā in 3 parts, where the first part is very much about the basics of yoga. It's very much about learning self-control, control of the senses. It's very much about becoming detached from our activities, the results of our activities, karma yoga. And in the 6th chapter, it's very much about dhyana, meditational yoga. And more broadly, chapter 6 is a kind of compact, you could say, overview of Ashtanga yoga. So nowadays, everybody's heard of yoga, but most people are thinking, what is yoga? They're thinking yoga means asana. Well, in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna speaks briefly about asana. He says, sit comfortably. And sit upright, he says, and focus the attention of the eyes forward. He actually speaks of focusing between the eyebrows, things like that. In the other famous yoga book, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, there are 2 verses referring to asana. Out of 200 verses, approximately, 195, there are 2 verses about asana. But somehow modern yoga made everything about asana. How did that happen? Well, we won't worry about that just now, because we want to hear what Krishna says in the 7th chapter, which begins, Mayi āsaktamana partha yogam yunjanmadashraya asangshayam mahabāho. Asangshayam samagrama, yata gyasasi tat shrinu. He's giving an invitation. Of course, Arjuna has been listening the last 6 chapters, but now he's again inviting, please listen. Srila Prabhupada, many times he would lecture starting with this verse. He very much liked this verse. Why? Because what does Krishna say? He says, now hear, listen, O son of Pritha, that means Arjuna, How? By practicing yoga in full consciousness of me. That's an important point. With mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So now in this chapter, the attention, Krishna is turning the attention full, like 100%. He's turning the attention to himself. He's introducing, therefore, bhakti yoga. If you don't know yet, we're all about bhakti yoga in this society for Krishna consciousness. That's why we call it Krishna consciousness. We're interested in cultivating our consciousness such that we experience everything in relation to the supreme, wonderfully all-attractive Lord Krishna. And that's what Lord Chaitanya is teaching. That is what his counterpart Nityananda Prabhu are teaching. And therefore we also worship them as expansion, as Krishna himself, together with his eternal expansion, Balaram. And we also, in some of our temples, we have not the 2 figures, we have 5 figures. We have Lord Chaitanya, we have Lord Nityananda, we have Sri Advaita, we have Sri Gadadhar, and Srivas Thakur. So today we're celebrating, and if you look closely on the altar, there is a photo of the Pancha Tattva, the 5 tattvas. On the far right is Srivasa, sometimes referred to as Srinivasa, kind of interchangeable. And so we chant, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas Adi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So this Srivas Adi means beginning with. And Gaura Bhakta Vrinda means the assembly of bhaktas, of devotees. And so it's acknowledging Srivas as the first among all of the bhaktas. We'll talk more about him, but why is he the first of bhaktas? Because he's identified as being none other than Narada Muni. And Narada Muni is, he is the universal cosmic teacher of bhakti. He appears from the heart of Lord Brahma. So many rishis appear from different limbs of Lord Brahma, but Narada appears from his heart. And Narada is appearing as Srivas, as the devotee of the Lord, ideal devotee. Okay, let's hear what Krishna says. This is a slightly technical verse. I'll read the Sanskrit and then the translation, and we'll see how far we get with the Srila Prabhupada's purport. Prabhupada has a lot to say about this, because when he has a long purport, you know it's important. So the Sanskrit, Krishna says, avyaktaṁ vyaktim āpannaṁ manyante abuddhayaḥ. Paraṁ bhāvam ajānanto mamāvyayam anuttamam. So the subject in this verse is abuddhayaḥ. We've all heard the word Buddha because we've heard of the Buddha. And you may have heard of Buddhi. And so this is technically buddhaya means it's the plural form of buddhi, persons with intelligence. So if there are many persons with intelligence, at least 3, then you can speak of buddhaya. But this is not speaking about intelligent people. It's speaking about unintelligent people. Therefore it says abuddhayaḥ. The foolish people, the unintelligent people, manyante, they think. Even unintelligent people can think, but sometimes they don't think very clearly. And that's what Krishna is saying here. Translation. Srila Prabhupada's translation, unintelligent men, abuddhayaḥ, who do not know me perfectly, think, manyante, that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, paraṁ bhāvam, ajānanto. They do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So this is quite an important principle for us. This is kind of what separates what we call the personalists from the impersonalists. The impersonalists will say that ultimate reality is ultimately non-personal or impersonal. And the personalists, and that means Vaishnavas in general, not just followers of Lord Chaitanya, but all Vaishnavas. And according to one analysis, estimate, the majority of people who identify as Hindu in India, the vast majority are Vaishnava. They see themselves as worshippers of the Supreme Person as Vishnu. Shaivites, there are different traditions of Shaivism, and some of them we might think of as more personal and some as more impersonal. But that's for another day. Krishna is making here very clear, but he's explaining it in terms of manifest, unmanifest and manifest. Avyaktaṁ means not manifest. So people challenge, they say, they argue that there is no God. There's something now called new atheism. Atheism has been around since day one. There have always been people who deny the existence of God. And a common argument for the non-existence of God is, where is he? We don't see him. To which Srila Prabhupada would often reply, you do not have the eyes to see God. Shishi Gauranitai ki jai. You do not have the eyes to see God. How can you expect to see God if you don't have the eyes? In the Brahma Samhita, which is a wonderful collection of prayers by Lord Brahma to the Supreme Lord Govinda. Some of you may know some of the prayers. One of the prayers is Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yang Shyama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adi Purusham tamaham bhajami. So prema anjana churita bhakti vilochanena. Santa, the santas, the saints, the sadhus, those who dedicate themselves to devotional service, devotional life, their eyes have been smeared with a special ointment, anjana. What sort of ointment is this? It's the prema anjana. Prema, what is prema? Prema means love. Devotional, spiritual love. Premanjana churita, having their eyes smeared in this way. Bhakti vilochana, their devotional vision. Santa sada eva, Santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. It's interesting. This verse tells us where these saints see the Lord. Hridayeshu, in their hearts. That's quite interesting because anybody here have experience of getting up in the morning and going about your business and then suddenly realizing, whoops, I left my heart in the bed. No, the heart is always with us. Even we don't think about it, heart is there. So Santa Sada, always, Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti, they see. Who do they see? Yam Shama Sundaram. They see Shama Sundar, this Sundara, this beautiful, darkish Lord. This Lord who has a complexion like a fresh rain cloud. Yang Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam. His Swarupa, his essential form, is Achintya Guna. Guna can mean quality, it can also mean virtue. And Achintya means inconceivable. He cannot be. We want to reduce, we want to limit God, we want to reduce Him to our very limited conceptual powers. And one way to reduce Him with our limited conceptual powers is to reduce Him to nothing. Completely. Therefore, Friedrich Nietzsche, the late 19th century German philosopher, declared, Gott ist tot und wir haben ihn getötet. God is dead and we have killed him. Notice, he doesn't just say God is dead. He says God is dead and we have killed him. It's us. And he's referring to modern civilization. We have killed. Yeah, so here Krishna is saying they got it wrong. They are abuddhi. Avyaktaṁ vyaktim āpannaṁ manyante mamāvyayam. He's describing this process of reduction, if you like. And reducing God, in this case, perhaps not to total non-existence, but to non-personhood. Now, this word person, if I ask you, are you a person? Any of you would say, no, I'm not a person. Anyone? Anyone want to volunteer to declare, no, I'm not a person? No? Oh, someone wants to... You're not a person?
I'm soul.
You're a soul. Okay. Well, we could go on to ask, is a soul a person, right? Yeah. Okay. But now if I would ask you, what means person? Well, person is... Huh? Huh? Body? Oh, you want to identify the body as a person? So when the body is dead, then the person is dead. Yeah? Yeah? Soul is different. So body is person, soul is non-person? That's okay. There, I think we agree there. And I think this is what Krishna is telling us also. Yeah, we might, we could discuss, we could go into small groups and try to discuss what is a person. And if you're very sort of on your toes, your intellectual toes, you might say, well, first of all, this is an English word. And why should we be wrestling with some English word? It's not a Sanskrit word. We don't find the word person, the English word, in the Bhagavad-gītā in Krishna's Sanskrit, right? So what's going on here? And that's actually a good point. The word person in English comes from Latin Greek persona, which originally meant mask. And so it had the sense of a kind of putting forward some, we say personality, projecting some idea of a person. But that's changed, and it's, of course, been many centuries of Western thought that's developed the idea of personhood. So if you'll kind of be patient, I want to share with you some slightly philosophical thinking about what is a person. Because if we're saying that God is a person, and okay, we can use a Sanskrit word, we can say Purusha. For now, we can hold off on what that word is all about. But let's stay with the English word for now and see if we get some help in understanding how God might be a person. Shall we do this? No? No. Yes, okay. Okay, well, here's some thoughts. The first is, a person has a rational nature. So what do you think? Let's assume that God exists, okay? We won't go into arguments about whether or not God exists. We're going to assume God exists. If God exists, would he or she be rational? What do you think? Very possibly rational. We don't like the idea of an irrational or a whimsical God, right? Whimsical is, like some, mad person who does completely unpredictable things. And we might want to say that we see this rationality in what we call the laws of nature. They're really God's laws, and they're very kind of quite exact, and they're very persistent, at least as far as we experience. What we call the law of gravity is having this exact same function for all of us as we are sitting here now. We don't suddenly see one of us floating up in the air. At least I'm not seeing any of you floating in the air, but yeah, there's consistency is the point. Now, we could elaborate on this, and we could think about how we have rationality, and that's part of our experience of being persons. I could go even further and say we could actually argue that animals are persons insofar as we see reasoning by animals. And I think we see a lot of reasoning in animals all the way down to ants. I was just in Mayapur in India a few days ago, and the weather is getting warmer there, and the place where I stay, it was fascinating to see how quickly ants would find one drop of honey on a second floor, you know, like, how do they do it? Where are they? They're really sharp, you know. So there's some kind of reasoning is going on. Okay, but that's another topic. Okay, this next character of persons uses another slightly fancy English word. A person possesses subjectivity. Subjectivity, that means we're all subjects. That means we have experience as subjects. We're not only objects, and we expect others to treat us as subjects. Now, there are circumstances where we get quite annoyed if we're dealing with, let's say, government bureaucracy, and they're just wanting to know numbers and, you know, statistics and something not, and you feel like they have absolutely no interest in you as a person. Have you ever experienced this? Especially when you want to do something, get a permit or whatever, and it's not working out, and you want to say, come on, you know, what about me as a person? That's, roughly speaking, we can say that's subjectivity. Could it be that God would have this quality? What do you think? Would he have subjectivity? Yes? No? Maybe? No? Yes. We're getting some positive. Anyone want to say no? God has no subjectivity. He's not a subject, he's an object. An object means we see all around us so many objects, and we sometimes relate to others as objects, and we speak of objectivity. So one feature of subjectivity is we're conscious of ourselves. Do you think that God might also be conscious of himself? Quite likely, isn't it? If there is God. And here we're kind of assuming a few things about God's powers, God's opulence. But for now, we just take it like that he has consciousness of himself. Okay, do you want to hear the third quality of persons? Yeah? No? Yes, okay. You're still with me. Very good. We're getting a little bit philosophical here. But this one's quite easy, I think. A person has relationships with other persons. Can any of us here say, I'm a person, I'm rational, I'm a subject, but I have no relation with anyone else? Can anyone say that? No. Well, naturally, we have family relationships, which you could say are biological relationships, but it's not only biological, right? We have Well, sometimes we just want to say we have a personal relationship. We have some kind of interaction with people. We have certain possibly expectations of someone else, of friends who have expectations of us. We don't totally surprise each other each time we see each other, right? When we know someone, we don't have to start over each time to get to know them, because we have some memory, and that memory is based on a relationship, isn't it? That's pretty easy. What do you think? Does God have relationship with other persons? Yeah. This is where it gets very interesting in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. We understand God has relationships with other persons. And he's especially demonstrating that as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is a seg into our other subject, which is Srivas Thakur. Srivas Thakur, Srivas Pandit. Srivas Pandit is one of these persons with whom Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had an amazing relationship. Also, Nityananda Prabhu had an amazing relationship. Now, just a couple of things I'll mention about Srivas Thakur. He's referred to as Srivas Thakur. Thakur means highly respected person. Pandit, he's called Srivas Pandit in some of the sacred literature. Pandit means a learned person, usually a Brahmin. And Srivas Pandit was around the same age as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father and mother. So Jagannath Mishra, the father of Vishvambar, who would later be known as Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, were about the same age. And so when little Nimai, as he was known as a small child, Vishvambar, Chaitanya, as a small child, as soon as he was born, Srivas Thakur and his wife Malini were right there to help. Parents are always grateful when others, it may be their parents, the child's grandparents, or it may be friends, come to help, because, isn't it? Some of you are mothers, you have experience. There's a lot to deal with suddenly. There's a new person in the family, so to say, right? Yeah. So Srivas and his wife they would come over, they would help in so many ways, and they would give advice also. New mother, new father, they're kind of like, what to do? Actually, they weren't, Chaitanya was not the first child. Vishvarupa is the older brother. But still, it was, it was an intense situation for them. So they were helpful. And that relationship continues as Nimai gets older, and eventually Nimai becomes known as Nimai Pandit. Why? Because he becomes a Pandit. As a teenager, he loved to study. He loved to especially study Sanskrit grammar and possibly also logic. Some say both grammar and logic. And he would spend all his time. Actually, his parents got worried at one point. At one point, Jagannath Mishra said, "Okay, you're not going to school anymore." Why not? Because his older brother, Vishvarupa, had renounced the family, had taken sannyas, and had left the family never to be seen again. And they were afraid that the younger son, Vishvambar, would follow in his older brother's footsteps if he kept studying. If he would keep studying, he would get more and more some crazy ideas about how material existence is actually a waste of time. And the real purpose of life can be attained by giving up material situations and dedicating oneself fully to devotional service. So they were worried. They said, okay, no more school for you. And then it's another story I won't go into, but little Nimai devised a scheme that kind of forced his father to agree to let him go back to school. He kind of played a trick on him in such a way that his father said, all right, go back to school. But my point, what I want to say is that as he got older, it seemed like he was becoming very proud of his learning, because he would go around and he would challenge all the other boys and even older learned scholars, and he would get them involved in debates, and he would always defeat them. And according to Vrindavan Das Thakur, after he would give so many arguments for whatever he was arguing, he would then turn around and reverse the argument. He would give arguments to defeat the arguments which he had used to defeat. So he was apparently extremely expert. Now, Srivas Thakur was noticing all of this, and he got worried. He said, he's becoming too proud. And he's going to miss the whole point. The thing is, Advaitacharya, who was one of the five, remember? Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, Adi Gaur Bhakta. So Advaitacharya was also an elder. He was also at least as old as Jagannath Mishra, as the father. But more than that, Advaitacharya was the leader of the Vaishnavas in that area of Navadvip and Shantipur. And they would all come to him and they would read Bhagavad-gītā, but especially they would read Srimad Bhagavatam and discuss. So Srivas Thakur would also participate in that. So he was very much absorbed in devotional mood, so that when he saw this upcoming, we might want to say upstart pundit of Nimai Pandit, he got worried. He's not becoming a Krishna devotee. So he revealed his mind to Srivas, to Lord Chaitanya, to Vishvambar. He said, I'm worried about you. And Nimai Pandit basically said, don't worry, there's nothing to worry about. I'll be okay. And it was soon after that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, still as Nimai Pandit, went to Gaya. Gaya is in present-day Bihar, and it's one of a few places in India which are famous as places to perform Shraddha rites for one's departed relative. His father, Jagannath Mishra, had passed away, apparently rather suddenly. There's no explanation of why. he suddenly passed away. So on the pretext of going to offer Shraddha for his father, he went to Gaya. And this is a major turning point in Nimai Pandit's life, because when he's in Gaya, he meets his spiritual master, his guru, Ishvara Puri. This is not the first time he meets him, but it's the decisive time, because he is accepted by Ishvara Puri as his disciple, and he gives him a mantra, and when he begins to chant this mantra, it is as if he's a different person. So that when he comes back to Navadvip, practically people can't even recognize him. He is now utterly and completely absorbed in Krishna bhakti. He can only think of Krishna. And so it's at this time that Srivas Thakur becomes, he and his wife become hosts. They become hosts for kirtans at their home, in the courtyard of their home. Every evening, Chaitanya, not yet having that name, because that's his sannyas name, but Vishvambar Nimai Pandit, he goes there with his friends, with Nityananda Prabhu and with others, and they have kirtan, and they have more kirtan, and they're just having kirtan all night long. And it's a closed door affair. They're not letting anyone and everyone in. It's only for those that they feel can properly relish, can properly savor the mood of bhakti which they are feeling. Actually, the Sankirtan movement, as one good friend of mine has explained, it begins in secrecy, and then it goes out into public, and in the end, it ends in secrecy. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri goes into seclusion. But again, that's another topic. Srivas Thakur is hosting these nocturnal kirtans for some, apparently it's going on for some months. We don't know exactly how long, but day after day for several months. And Vrindavan Das Thakur tells us that one evening, something terrible happened at Srivas Thakur's house. What happened was that one of Srivas Thakur's sons died. He had been lying apparently sick, and the ladies were all trying to care for him in a back room, while in the front, in the courtyard, was going on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan, and they were all dancing and chanting and dancing and chanting and dancing and chanting. And Srivas Thakur was with the devotees chanting, but he heard in the back room, he heard suddenly some wailing sound. It was the women of the household. Naturally, we could say they were, their hearts were broken that this son had died. Srivas, what does he do? He goes back and he says, "Shh, quiet! You're going to disturb Mahaprabhu. Our son has just died." "Yes, so what?" Whoa, what kind of an attitude is that? That was Srivas Thakur's feeling of devotees. He said, there's nothing we can do about it. If he's gone, he's gone. But the point is, we are hosting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his dance, in his kirtan. And so he goes back to the kirtan. After some time, the kirtan ends, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he looks around and he says, something, I didn't feel so much ecstasy this night. Something happened here. I don't know what it is, but I just don't, something. Can you explain, Shivas? Gee, what happened? And Shivas said, well, maybe it's because, my son died. What? Your son died? Why didn't you tell me? And Mahaprabhu immediately rushed back into the back room, and the boy was lying in the bed, motionless. And Vrindavadas tells us that Mahaprabhu touched the boy, I guess put his hand on his chest, and the boy spoke. The boy said, and the boy explained, he said, I have come and by your grace, he refers to Mahaprabhu, he says, by your divine arrangement, I have appeared in this family, and by your divine arrangement, I am now going. So there is nothing to be unhappy about, there's nothing to be sad about. And he said so many words like that, and then again, he shut his eyes and he was gone. So Srivas Thakur, and at that time the ladies understood, they appreciated, and they became free from their lamentation because by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So anyway, these are some of the characteristics of Srivas Thakur. He was sort of the ideal host for Lord Chaitanya. He, in a sense, you could say he incubated the Sankirtan movement in the womb-like courtyard of his home. And then eventually, of course, it couldn't be contained, just as a child cannot be contained forever in the womb, doesn't want to be. So at the right time, Mahaprabhu brought the Sankirtan activity outside and brought it into the public. And when it comes into the public, then it meets some resistance. And that's, of course, another story. So, Srivas Thakur, again, he is identified as Narada. Narada is a great sage who appears several times in the Bhagavatam. And when Narada speaks, you know he's speaking pure bhakti. He's speaking he's teaching how to practice what is bhakti. He is himself the model bhakta. Why? Because he's always engaged in glorifying the Lord. His iconography shows him always with a veena, and with his veena he's always singing Narada Muni Vajaya Veena Radhika Nam Radhika Ramana Nami. And as we speak about chanting, now I see the time has come for chanting one round of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Maybe while you're passing these japamala out, we can see if anyone has a question or a comment. I have to apologize, I didn't even get to the purport of Srila Prabhupada, but I encourage you to read this purport to get a clearer idea of what Krishna is saying when he says, unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality due to their small knowledge, ajānanto. They do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable, avyaktaṁ, and supreme, anuttamam. So as we chant now the name of Krishna, I suggest keeping in mind Krishna is a person, and just like we have relation with others. So we also have a relation with Krishna. That relation tends to be rather covered, but we can uncover it when we call his name. And when I say call his name, that's precisely what we're doing. The Maha Mantra is technically in the Sanskrit form of calling out to the person we are naming. There's different Sanskrit forms, and this is the vocative form. When we say Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, we are calling directly. So if you call my name and I will, likely say yes, what do you want? But if you're calling me, but your attention is somewhere else, then, what am I going to do? I'll also turn my attention somewhere else. So when we're calling Krishna, we want to keep in mind he's ready to respond to our call. And we are calling, "Oh Krishna, please let me be engaged in your service. I've been engaged, I don't know how long, in service to anything and everything other than you. Now what I want to do is turn my attention and service to you." Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,